Good afternoon. My name's Alun R. I go by pronouns he, him. And this afternoon, I'm facilitating a game of Achtung, Cthulhu Dark for the Gauntlet RPG community, part of the RPG calendar, the online calendar that the Gauntlet community maintains. This is specifically part of Gauntlet Games Now, which is the Gauntlet's occasional turn up and play option. This is a one-shot. You can find more about the Gauntlet by searching for the Gauntlet RPG, where you'll find great games to play, gamers to meet, and much, much more, including, if you choose to do so, backing the Gauntlet's Patreon, which delivers several podcasts and monthly codex zine, and is at the moment kickstarting its first game, Hearts of Wulin, which I would heartily recommend. I'll give you and the players a quick breakdown of the kind of game we're playing. So this is a game about agents operating in occupied Europe during World War II. The difference is that in this World War II, the supernatural, occult, and the Cthulhu mythos is real. It reflects settings such as Achtung Cthulhu by Modiphius or World War Cthulhu by Cubicle 7. As the base rules, we'll be using Cthulhu Dark by Graham Walmsley, but I've modified it to reflect the wartime setting. Some of those tweaks are to help me frame ways in which characters can stay sane in the face of both the stress of war and of the Cthulhu mythos, and they owe a great deal to the stress relief moves in Mark Diaz Truman's Cartel Quickstart, published by Magpie Games. It's a great game you should try. So the aim of this game, it's October 1939, and Britain has been at war with Nazi Germany for about 6 weeks following the German invasion of Poland. In this session, the players will portray members of the Czech resistance occupying in occupied Czechoslovakia, following up on leads from a previous investigation. Now, in terms of tone, we have Nazis, Cthulhu, and the occult. So this game is intended to be rich in darkness and foreboding. How dark may depend on how the players approach the game. And as in any game based on Call of Cthulhu, it's fair to say that the longer-term fate of the characters is pretty bleak, and the Cthulhu Dark rules are no more forgiving in that direction. But this is a one-shot, so as they say, drive your characters like a stolen car. The subject matter. This scenario involves the occult activity of a fictionalized Third Reich. The activities of the real Nazi regime that took over Germany in the 1930s are well known, and by adding aspects of the occult and supernatural to the mix, I am in no way seeking to trivialize those real events. Given the nature of the material, therefore, we'll be careful to use the safety tools espoused by the Gauntlet community. We'll be playing with the X card, and I think I know that all my players are familiar with the X card. It simply means that if at any time any of the players feel that they've encountered material that they're uncomfortable with in a bad way, they will either make a cross in front of the screen or note it in the chat. I'll be honest with the players that sometimes my focus tends to be on their faces, not on the chat. So the best way to help me recognize the X card is actually to do it. I won't ask why a player has played the X card. I may ask them how far they want me to rewind the fiction, so I can play forward from there in a way that I hope avoids the material they found uncomfortable. We'll also be playing with the Gauntlet inclusivity policy, and we'll be running an open table. That means that if at any time, I will build some breaks in, probably given that we've got about 2.5 hours left to play, I will think probably of putting one in about an hour and a quarter. But the open table means that if at any point any of the players feel they need to get up and stretch their legs, or something else goes on in the world that they need to respond to, that's fine. If they come back, that's even finer. But it is an open table, so don't feel obliged to sit here if this doesn't turn out to be your jam. The other thing that we were playing with are lines and veils, and all of this is in the character keeper in the Cats, Lines and Veils tab. Given the inherent darkness in the setting, I found it quite difficult to define lines, but these are the ones my starting point. So I'd welcome any feedback from the players. Those lines are things that we will not cross. They will not appear in the fiction. We will not see graphic representations of Nazi atrocities. We'll not see sexual violence of any kind or violence against children. We may see the consequences of such events, or there may be a kind of oblique reference to them, but we won't see this portrayed. Is there any other line that the players want to put in? And if they do, if they could just add it to the character keeper in that cell, I'd be grateful so I can take notice of it. We'll also be thinking about veils. Now, veils we will encounter. They will be in the fiction, the stuff that's veiled, but it will be behind the curtain, or we will fade to black, or whatever else. And because I'm British and old, my obvious veil is sex. That, if you know, it may happen in the game, but we will draw the curtain across it and not see the details. That's my only veil. If the players want to add any veil, they can again add it to that. And I'm sorry if that seems unduly kind of laden, but I am conscious that the material is potentially tricky, and I don't want to cross any lines I shouldn't. Okay, so with all that in mind, then can I ask the players to introduce themselves and the characters they're playing tonight? Can I go for a change from right to left and start with Will? Right to left on the character keeper, please. So Will, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about David Zakpal?
So my name's Will, pronouns he, him. My character is David Zakpal, who shares the same pronouns, and David is a Czech of German descent who's a mechanic and previously served in the Czech army before Czechoslovakia surrendered to the Germans. Now he's a member of the resistance.
Fine. I'll ask you a couple more questions about that when we run back up and down the character keeper. Yoshi, can I come to you next, please?
Sure. So I'm Yoshi. I use he, him pronouns. I'm going to be playing Natalie Novak, who uses she, her pronouns. She used to be a baker. She's got a family. She's got into this because her family has been threatened. She's kind of relatively average looking, maybe a little bit on the pretty side, but like could totally get lost in the crowd and you forgot which person you were supposed to be paying attention to.
That's great. Thank you. And then finally, Erez, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about Ezrael Shapira?
So my name is Erez. I use he, him pronouns, and my character is Ezrael Shapira. Also, he, him pronouns. He's a rabbi student, or was a rabbi student until not too long ago. Probably a bit of a Zionist too, before there was a country. And well, he sees what's going on around him as the Nazis are progressing, and he's going to do whatever he can.
Thank you for that. Now, I notice that Ezrael has opted for why did he join the Secret War, and he's selected humanity. Once you found out what they were doing, you could not turn aside from your duty. What would you do to stop them? Can you tell us what you do to stop them, Ezrael?
What exactly is the year that this starts in?
This is October 1939.
Okay, so it's before most of the atrocities. Still, some of them. So I would really do anything and everything to stop the Nazis. They've already been through several of the things that they did against Jews, and it's a Jewish person. He's totally, obviously, on the side of good.
Does that extend to self-sacrifice?
Yes, anything and everything.
Fine. Okay. Thank you for that. I think you mentioned, Natalie, that you've got into this because the Czech resistance have blackmailed you into joining this effort. Why didn't you volunteer?
Because I'm afraid that in general, my family would be under threat, and the best way to keep them safe is to keep them close. And that was my plan until I got blackmailed into joining, and that immediately staying with them was going to put them under more threat than me leaving to go help.
Thank you for that. And finally, David, you've put my country right and wrong. You believe in God, king, and country. What would it take to betray them?
It would take someone to directly threaten my family, and then my patriotic values would probably not hold up against that sort of pressure.
Okay, and can we stick with David as we work back the other way? Which member of this team, because you are an established team, you have been briefed together. Maybe you've worked together before. I don't know. That we'll find that out. But which member of the team do you care most about, David?
I think I care most about Ezra, because he reminds me of my eldest son.
Well, I'm going to ask Ezra why Ezra cares more to you. So you can put which member of the team, Ezra, if you can put that in there. But Ezra, why does David care most about you?
I think I'm, as I said, like I'm the youngest here, and I think I'm also in the most danger here and most out of his element. So maybe he has this as you said, this parental emotions.
Okay, is there enough for you to fill in your character keeper on that, David? Okay, Natalie, of the two members of the team, which one do you care most about?
Let's make it or at least encourage the circle. I'll go with I care about David the most.
Okay, David, why does Natalie care most about you? What events have you shared, or anything else that has led her to believe she cares most for you?
So it's the resistance that have threatened your family, right, Natalie? So maybe I'm a member of the resistance who's promised that I'll make sure that they're safe, and that I won't let other people take advantage, like, threaten your family, because I know how much that would hurt.
Enough there, Natalie, to put something in? Great. And finally, Ezra, who do you care most about? And then I'll ask them why.
Israel. It's one name. Who do I care most about? It's really like... Victor. I think Natalie. Let's make it
okay.
3.
Natalie, why does Ezrael care most about you?
I think because I tend to be, when things get stressed, I tend to take command of things, but like in a sort of like family, like mother oriented thing. And so it's sort of like you can see the care and concern that I have when things get in trouble. Like I might be yelling at you, but it's like, get away from the edge. Like that's dangerous. Like you need to be safe type thing. And like, even if I'm yelling at you, you know, it's coming from a place of concern for your well-being. Yeah.
Beware the lioness. Is there enough there for you to complete that section, Ezrael? Okay. And then I go all the way back round and ask, which one do you care least about? Now, because there are only 3 in the team, that is self-selecting, I would suggest.
So,
but we don't know why.
So, Natalie, would you like to tell me why I care least about you?
I think it's because maybe you see me as selfish for only caring about my family, that there's a greater purpose. Like it's not so much, maybe not selfish, but like I don't understand the scope of the problem type thing. Like I'm naive and a little bit short-sighted.
Okay. Natalie, again, self-selecting who. The question is why. So the who is, if I've got that right, Ezrael. So Ezrael, why does Natalie care least about you?
Probably for the same reason he cares the most. I'm the most untrained here, unimportant, like most useless.
Perfect.
Yeah, that works. And then I think we know that if you care, Ezrael, if Ezrael cares most about Natalie, he cares least about David. David, why does Ezrael care least about you?
I think he finds me patronizing, because I'm continuously trying to like look after him and make sure that he's, you know, and he thinks that he's got it all worked out. Anyways,
does that work for you, Israel? Great. Okay, so so we've got our characters sorted out. I will just draw your attention to the load and equipment section at the bottom of the character keeper. If you're familiar with Blades in the Dark, this will look familiar. I'm going to assume, for reasons of plot, which will become apparent shortly, that you are all light loaded. All you have to do is to select either light, medium, or heavy load. And as I say, for reasons I'll explain, you will all start light loaded. And then which equipment you choose to have in your black bag up to that load limit, you determine as the plot unfolds. So it helps make sure that in a cinematic way, you always have the equipment that you really need. Okay, so with all that in mind, then let me proceed to your briefing. So this is background then. It's October 1939, and as I've said, Britain and France have been at war with the Third Reich for 6 weeks or so. Meanwhile, an arm of British intelligence called Her Majesty's Pursuivants have analysed reports from covert Operation Danny Boy, which took place before war started in occupied Czechoslovakia. That Danny Boy took place about 2 months ago. Now, the Pursuivants have been protecting the United Kingdom from the occult and supernatural since the reign of Elizabeth I. And based on Operation Danny Boy, they've identified a new unit within the SS that they've codenamed Torch. But that unit describes itself as Projekt Prometheus. Now, unfortunately, Operation Danny Boy failed to capture any member of Torch for questioning, but an American diplomat said to have witnessed events has not been made available to Britain for debriefing. Czech resistance claims that Torch succeeded in transforming civilians into what survivors described as ravening beasts. However, the only British survivor of Danny Boy did not personally witness any of the reported events, so this intelligence remains unconfirmed. Now, however, translated radio intercept suggests that members of Torch are also deployed to Brno in Czechoslovakia. Czech listeners, Slovak listeners, please excuse my pronunciation. The same intercept states, the fresh insights from Asset Ghoul after the Karlstein incident have advanced the Prometheus effort significantly. High Command remains convinced by our blood storage report. Now, High Command suggests that Torch is well connected. That is a worry to British intelligence. More importantly, the mention of blood storage may indicate further German aggression is imminent, and/or that they have made some breakthrough in blood storage, which could be essential to the war effort. A separate Czech resistance report passed by their government in exile says that a newly appointed member of the historical research faculty of the German University in Prague has been given an immediate leave of absence to pursue his interesting area of study in Brno. Now, all of that is background. If you look at the mission tab in your character keeper, you will find that the mission for this cell, this resistance cell, is boiled down as follows. Collect any intelligence on Torch, its activities and the work and/or identity of Asset Ghoul. Find out who the new appointment to the university is and why he has travelled to Brno. Is this coincidental or is it related to any Torch activity? And they've provided you with false papers for travel to Brno as necessary. Do you have any questions for your briefer?
Is it a problem that I've decided to make the nephew of Radim Zakpal? You're muted, Alan.
You know I like to have that one opportunity early in the game, Will. No, I'm very happy for David to
cool.
play. So if there are no other questions, my simple opening scene is the three of you in a cafe discussing how, in Prague, discussing how you were going to identify this member of the historical research faculty at the German university, and how are you going to find out why he's gone to Brno before deciding if you need to go to Brno. What would be helpful would be, can you describe something about this cafe that makes it clear that Prague is occupied?
There's no sugar.
Or all the sugar is on that table in the corner with the two German officers.
Yeah, we're going to discuss this with a German officer in the.
It's a busy Prague cafe. There's lots of background noise.
Yeah. Signs in German as well as Czech.
Yes, that's true.
Police.
Tell me about these police, Ezra.
I mean, it's an occupied place. There's probably like German outfit soldiers actually probably walking around the streets.
Yes, plenty of German soldiers walking up and down on the outside the cafe. Natalie, what do you notice that tells us this is occupied?
So the thing that you notice is not, I mean, there are police and there are soldiers around, but it's the attitude and the way people's bodies shift as they get closer and closer to those people. You can tell that they hold power and authority over everybody here, and everybody's, they stand up straighter, they are quieter, the conversations tone down or stop altogether as they pass that table or as those people pass.
Yes, there's almost a zone of silence around those two German officers in the corner, and it's very obvious when the waiter serves them, he's much more nervous than when he serves you. So okay, so let's have that conversation about how you're going to find out who this academic is, and move from there.
I had an uncle who worked at the University of Prague, but yeah, he went missing a while ago. I do not know. He could have told us much about this man, I am sure, but otherwise I can only think to travel to Brno ourselves and stick our noses where they are certainly not wanted.
I mean, going to Brno directly seems a bit hasty. If there's any information we can find at Prague, at the university, like clearly, if they were here, somebody has to remember them. Maybe we could ask about a professor or a subject that they were a particular expert in, and maybe they'll, oh no, yeah, he'll be back in 3 weeks. He's just out on a visit or something like that.
With these hands, they'll never believe academic type. And he'll look over at Azrael and say, like, perhaps the boy.
Yeah, I think we both look at that.
I look at you confused.
She has baker's hands. I work with vehicles. You are soft.
A student, one that lives in academia. I mean, religious academia, at least.
I walk with books. Walked with books.
Yes,
those are heavy.
Yes, I see the fierce paper cuts all over your hand. It is.
Yes.
Truly, it has left its mark upon you, and so you have the scars that will identify you as one of them. It's perfect.
Sounds perfect. Yes.
So how are you going to go about this Ezrael?
He has no idea.
I need to point out there are two universities in Prague. There is the Czech University, which has been riding high for the last 3 generations. Since the occupation, the German University in Prague is growing fast, and the Czech university is being sidelined. And this academic was a new appointment to the German university, just so you know. So how are you going to approach this problem?
He would have no idea. He would probably approach it lacking any idea what he's doing. He'll probably go and ask questions, basically. Like
perhaps we can either try and find some sympathetic friends in the Czech university and see if the circles of academia overlap. My uncle was always talking about how it was like a spider's web of backstabbing and competition. Says that they talk more than the old babushkas do. Babushka is not a Czech word. I do not know what the babushka is in Czech. But the only alternative I can think is you go there and you say you are a teaching assistant and you have been asked to assist any new appointments to the university.
That sounds good.
So do we cut to the main reception at the German university? Natalie and David, are you in the vicinity or are you staying well clear? Is this Ezrael's on his own or are you watching his back? And if so, how?
David will be in his car parked on the street, sat outside the reception.
I think I am going to have, I think I might be in the car, but I think I'm sitting there waiting with like a bagged or a box like lunch type thing. And it's totally like, as soon as like there's some sort of problem, like I'm gonna carry it. I'm like, oh no, I'm just bringing some food for so and to like they're like just like wave at people and like carry in some food, and hopefully everything will be fine and I can get where I need to go.
Okay, I know what you're doing. So let's cut to Ezrael going through these grand doors into this large, I kind of imagine a Gothic atrium, and approaching a rather stuck-up doorman behind a desk. What do you do?
I need to find the new hired professor, right? That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
What you know about him as well is that he's probably in Bruno at the moment. Like, he's not here. We know that he's newly appointed and that he's associated with Bruno.
I probably will have some papers, some nonsense papers that probably mean nothing. And I'll be like, hello?
Hello, young man. What can I do for you?
There is a new professor currently been hired, and I was supposed to put his papers in his table, and I forgot the room.
What's his name?
I'm really new. I know that he's not here currently, but I'm really stressed.
So where is he if he's not here? Why are you taking papers to his office if he's not here?
I was told he's in. What's the name of the place? Bruno. He was hired in Bruno for something, but I don't know. I just do what I'm told, you know. I'm new. Just started.
Wait there, and he goes under the desk, gets a book which appears to have arrived, departed kind of information in it. I think probably I need you to roll to investigate something. Now, the way this works, I'll just run you through the dice mechanic. Yeah. You always roll the white dice. You roll the orange expertise dice if you can make an argument that either your current role in the resistance or your history would be relevant to doing this. And you can always include your stress dice, but the stress dice has consequences potentially, of driving you closer to the edge. So
I think I have expertise in personal charms.
I think that's right. I think
the opposite of them.
I think that he's feeling sorry for you. You've come across as this bumbling idiot who doesn't exactly know what he's doing, but it seems well-meaning enough. So I think certainly you can roll the white and the orange dice. So if you,
I am considering rolling the stress because I am extremely stressed.
Okay, go for it. So
stuff.
If you highlight those 3 dice, and then you'll see a green button that says reroll selected. Hit that, and let's see what happens.
2, 3, and 4.
Okay, now because the stress dice is highest, your stress increases by 1. And you'll find some checkboxes in the character keeper to track stress. But with a 4, if you look in basic moves when you investigate something, 4 or 5, you get the bare minimum, and you can also ask me or him 1 question. So the minimum information you find is that his name is Radim Zakpal. He's recently been appointed from the Czech University, and he is indeed been given leave of absence to pursue his work in Brno, and his office is on the 7th. It's on the 7th room on the 2nd floor. Do you want to ask me a question now, or do you want to reserve that question?
Let's see, what do we need to do? Find out who the new appointment today and why he has traveled to Brno. Is this coincidence or is related? I don't think I ever I don't know what to ask, so I guess I can save it.
Okay, so do you make your way to the office?
I say thank you, and start going like a bumbling idiot.
And you'll find the office. It's got a glass panel and a newly painted name, Professor Radim Zakpal. And unfortunately, the door is locked. What do you do, Israel?
I knock. Oh, it's locked. It's not Radim Zakpal. Try harder? No, I'd probably go downstairs and ask for the key.
I'm just looking at your example skill set.
Oh, Larson is like doing shitty stuff, isn't it?
Breaking in, for instance, picking locks, for instance.
People are looking. I also write his name in the meantime on one of the papers that I have. I will knock and start playing with my papers, but I try to open the door. This I'm good at. I'm not gonna roll extra stress stuff.
Yeah, so you're welcome to put stress in again, or you could just roll the white dice and the expertise dice.
Oh, it's a 1 and a 1. Ding. I'm muted.
This is rolling to do something else. So 1 to 3, you barely succeed, and the GM may exact some personal cost or offer you a hard choice. The hard choice is that someone further down the corridor has seen you tinkering with the keyhole. Now, if you go in, they may draw one conclusion. If you walk away, they may draw a different conclusion. What do you want to do?
Go right in.
Okay, it's clear that this office has barely been used. It looks like someone's moved in and then they've left. So there are boxes of books. There are some. There's a. Do you know libraries used to have small little kind of card indices? Yeah. And there are 2 of these sitting on the desk, and they both show some signs of fire damage. But one of the cards has been taken out and put in the other way so it stands out.
Well, I'll immediately take that one out and put it in a pocket or something. And I've seen that someone noticed me, right?
Yes.
Then I'm going to start look like I'm organizing things. Not that there is anything to organize. And
that's good, because the door opens. The door opens, and a rather kind of crusty, grey-haired chap sticks his head. What are you doing here?
I'm so sorry. I was told to put these papers here. And that's it.
Well, off you go. Off you go.
Yeah. Yes. I put them. I look. Give the room a look around. There are books around.
Yeah, there are a lot.
What
actually,
subject?
most of the books are in boxes.
Can I see the name of one just to get the hint of what?
I think that if you want to stay here any longer, you're going to have to give him a good reason to, or you're going to put the papers down and go. How do you want to play this?
Okay, I look at him and like, yes. Well, I all the papers and accidentally throw them and drop them. Oh, do you mind helping? Oh, I actually don't.
Okay, and at that point, I'd like to cut to the car, please.
Yeah, muted Alan.
Ezrael has disappeared inside, and he's been gone about 10 minutes. And as you're sat in the car, you can see two Czech policemen in the company of a plainclothesman walking up the pavement towards you. And you realize actually that this isn't technically, you're not technically allowed to park here. What do you do?
When I realize that, I will swear in Czech, and I will look over at Natalie and say, like, we're not allowed to park here. I forgot.
I'm like, no worries. Like, I'll get out of the box and we'll just have a heated conversation. Like you're dropping me off, and then I will get out and walk towards the university, and then you can drive off, and they'll just think that we were talking a little bit before you dropped me off.
Okay.
Is there any kind of rendezvous arrangement?
I will do a lap. I think I'll just do another lap of the thing and see what happens.
Okay, Natalie, you get out of the car, and there's a heated argument, and as the policeman and the plainclothesman walk past you, they kind of look, and you can hear them. Just
don't expect me to pick you up, woman. Damn it.
And they walk on, leaving you to walk towards the university. Natalie, what do we see you doing?
So yeah, I think I walk towards the university, and there's got to be some like professor or person I know, like that we could have looked up beforehand to get here, right?
Shall we test how good your background research has been?
Sure, perfect.
With a retrospective investigate.
Cool. So definitely always use the white die. I'm not sure any of my expertise actually fits in here.
I have to say I would agree with you.
So I think it might be the white die, and what are the consequences for a 1 to 3?
Well, if you look on basic moves, 1 to 3, you barely succeed. The GM may exact some personal cost or offer you a hard choice.
Yeah, let's just roll the 1 selected and see what happens. I got a 5.
Well, that goes like a bomb. You have a name. The name is Professor Projekt. And do you want to ask me one question about Professor Projekt that might prove useful in carrying this off?
Yeah. I think what I want to know, and so like this is probably coming into the food like thing, is like I want to know like what Professor Projekt might actually like to eat, like so like something like that. And so I'll come in, I'm like, I've got like this food for this person, I'm supposed to deliver it, and then get directions, something like that. And as long as it's something believable, they're like, oh yeah, I know he loves thing.
I think that probably he comes to your bakery every morning to pick up a particular pastry. and that's what's in your basket. And so you'll be directed straight up because, you know, baked goods for Professor Hajek is a straight through. So you make your way up to the second floor, where you can see Professor Hajek is shouting at someone inside a room, and he's shouting, "Idiot, idiot! You're making more mess than when you arrived."
And I'll go down that direction, and I'm like, Professor Hajek?
Yes. What do you want? What do you want?
I'm like, I didn't see you this morning at the bakery, and I know how much you love these pastries, and like I just wanted to make sure that you got your morning pastry this morning, and so like I brought it along.
And this stern, stone-faced man melts. Pastry?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I know how much it means to start your day off right with a good pastry, and I know how much you do here at the university to help all of the young students that are around that need to be educated, and that having that day start right really helps out.
So from bawling at you, Israel, this gentleman is now turned, and you can see him through the crack through the door with Natalie, just charmed. Not a side of Natalie you've seen before. What do you do with this very small window of opportunity?
Start looking around. Anything useful? What's the subject of this, Professor?
Okay, I think that is the question that you reserve from downstairs. So what you see are a lot of books around the arcane use of blood. Okay, that's what you get in that window of opportunity. I don't think you're going to be able to convince Professor Hajek you can stay here any longer. You've collected up your paper, you've been scanning the boxes of books, and then Hajek is saying, "Well, thank you very much, my dear. That's terribly kind of you," and taking the little box with its pastry away, saying to you, "Now get out, boy."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm like, I hope to see you again. And remember, stop by the bakery. Like, well, we try to keep things in stock for those who help educate everybody else.
Yes, and if you have any trouble with getting the right materials, come and see me. I have friends, you know. I have friends these days.
That is lovely to hear. Boy, thank you.
And I think we probably then cut to, in quick succession, Israel and Natalie coming out of that main door of the university, just because of dramatic coincidence, as the car comes around the corner and pulls up at the front curb. Where do you want to go now?
You have a safe place?
I think that probably a safe house. I think there's probably a Czech safe house. That I'm not too worried about where it is. It's probably a flat somewhere where you can discuss what you've discovered and decide what you do next. So let's have that scene.
Can I suggest that it's a garage, like a big shed, basically, that we've parked up in?
Yeah. Why don't we make it a little kind of garret above the garage where David works?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it may be where he sleeps. So there you are. You can hear there's kind of, you know, the noise of banging and engine work going on downstairs. It's off the main streets, accessed by a cast iron staircase to the upper floor, and you're in there with a skylight casting light down on you. What's the conversation we're going to see happen?
So what did you find out, boy?
The name, Radim Zakpal?
Radim Zakpal?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Oh, wait. You're Zakpal, aren't you?
Radim was my uncle.
Oh.
He would never work for the Germans.
I think that this is, you have discovered something disturbing, David.
Yeah, I was going to suggest it.
Please.
Oh, that is a 6. So yeah.
So you could increase stress by 1. That is a real shock, because Radim, you thought, was a member of the Resistance.
Radim he was a loyal Czech. He was a member of the Resistance. I wasn't in his cell, but I was sure. That's what I thought had happened to him.
If there's something the German are not known for is that they don't give you much of a choice.
But he has been missing for months. I looked for him. My children, they wonder where he is. And he goes and pours himself a tall glass of strong spirits from a cupboard under in the corner.
I'll take the thing out of the pocket and put it on the table. I assume we have a table and next to Natalie, and I'm like push it towards her, and I'm like, and this might have something to do with this.
It's a library card. It's a library reference card for a book called Die Blutmagie, that's German for blood magic. And it's there's very little on the card apart from first published 1789, and it's part of the and the card is from the Czech university, not the German university.
Radim was always so proud of the archive work that they did there. This looks like it was from his old university, and it's exactly the kind of mystic nonsense that he was so obsessed with. I have to go to Bruno. I have to find Radim.
You were saying that Radim is someone who would not willingly join the Germans and work for them, even at their university. Is there somebody that he would hold dear? Like, is he married? Does he have kids? We should find a way to protect those, because there are sometimes organizations who might leverage family members to get people to do things they don't want to get done.
And that David looks very pale as he realizes that he is Radim's family, and he is the person. He always assumed that he would be the only person that Radim would hold. My father died years ago, but Radim, he is the youngest brother of my father, and we are the only family he has. He is and dedicated to his work. He was his only friends were academics. His whole passion was the history of our country, and he would always talk about the hidden stories of the area, but I do not know how he could ever bring himself to work with the invaders.
Well, if that is the case, I think you should be careful following him to Bruno. But you may have to understand that maybe there is something here that he cares about enough to work for the invaders.
He was a good man, I swear. He was.
We can all be good people and still do things we don't necessarily want to do.
On a metagame level, Radim was not a good person. But yeah, David, of course, believes that of his uncle.
Yeah, I'm not certain he saw a lot of his family, if I'm honest.
No. But, it's the, eccentric Uncle Radim. My wife cooks him food. The children love his crazy stories of Bog and Chernobog.
So what's the plan then? Because the mission objectives are find out who the new appointment to the university is and why he has traveled to Brno. and the rest. So what's your next step?
I would like to maybe chase down one more lead before we leave Prague, and that is to try and get in touch with one of his old colleagues. Perhaps yeah, go for it.
This little thing for the book, it was upside down in his office. The book might contain more information.
If you want to try and get back into the university,
But can I just stress? No, the book wasn't there.
No,
the reference card was
upside down.
Was just so it was noticeable. Yeah.
I think he left a mark. Maybe there's more information in the book in the Czech library, because this is a book from the Czech library.
Radim. One of the last conversations I ever had with Radim, he came to the house and he was furious. He was swearing and he was cursing the Germans for stealing all of Prague's university's archives text. They took whatever they wanted. There is a slim chance, perhaps if we speak to one of his colleagues, there may be a book or something that the Germans didn't take, but yes, this is why I am sure Radim would never work for them. He called them book burners and barbarians who would take Czechs' treasured history from us. But yes, if you will indulge me, perhaps we may. I am trying to remember the name of one of his old colleagues, a man who came for a drink several times with us. Yes, could you suggest a name, Alan? I can't think of a Czech name.
I've just written down Daniel Majewski.
Daniel Majewski. Yes, Daniel Majewski. A man who could really hold his schnapps. He's
Dr. Daniel Majewski now. He was one of Radim's students.
So yeah, I will try and pay Daniel a visit, backed up by any of my colleagues who would like to come with me.
I think I'll try to go to the Czech library and get the book.
Yeah? You want to go to the Czech library and see if they've got the book? Cool.
Sure, that would probably be more nice in the Czech Republic than the German one.
So what I'm seeing then is a split screen. We've got Israel going to the Czech library, the library in the Czech university, and having a conversation with a librarian. And at the same time, David, are you gonna try and find Daniel at home or at work?
I think I will try and find him at home.
Natalie, do you have any plans either way?
I think, you know what? I don't think I have any plans either way at the moment.
Okay, then interrupt me if a plan comes to mind. So let's deal with Israel going to the Czech University Library, which historically, shall we say, has had a significant section in the library on Talmudic studies. Yeah. So you're familiar with the Czech University Library. So again, what tells you that this is the university that is now on the down because the German university is on the up?
All those Talmud books are gone. All of them.
And interestingly, let's have that scene. Let's have you talk to the librarian, who's a rather mousy lady with glasses. Hello, how can I help, young man?
Hi, I'm looking for a book, and I tell her the code or whatever it's supposed to be. I'm not sure.
I think I need you to roll with investigate, and I think your personal charm always plays in these situations.
That's good. Well, no stress this time.
You can always add the stress dice.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy with the result, you can add the stress dice and roll them again.
Oh, okay. First without, because I think I'm stressed right now. Oh, great. 1 and 2. It's fine. Let's fail a bit. I haven't failed in a while.
I think that the basic information I will tell you is that you get a sense of you show her the card and she goes, looks at you, looks at the card, and says, "I'm afraid we don't have that book," and gives you the card back. And it's like she's touched something very hot indeed.
Are you certain?
Young man, I know the library very well. We do not have that book. That card does not belong here. Good day.
I'll start walking back, and then I'll just turn around and start looking in the library anyway. I mean, I can follow the code, I assume.
Yeah, what's interesting is that the code on the card does not match any of the codes on the public library shelves. And it suddenly dawns on you that there's an X at the end of the reference number, and none of these shelves have an X on. And I get, you are a student, you know that there are public shelves and there are private reference documents. And it looks like this book belongs in the kind of private reference section of the library.
Yeah, I'll start looking for the entrance there. Wow.
Because you're a student and you've studied stuff here, I think you know where that is. And it's in a basement. So I think we see you. Let's see if you slip through that door by doing something else rather than investigating. So do something else is same process. And I have to say, your larcenous inclinations suggest that you could slip through a door into a basement staircase with relative ease. So let's see how easy it is.
Sure. But let's see how easy it is. Oh, 3 and 4.
So on 4 or 5 to do something else, that goes very well. You slip through the door, you go down the stairs, and you go down into this large vaulted basement. Marble columns, tiled ceilings and walls, dozens of shelves of restricted access books, and they're all gone. Let's cut back to David visiting Dr. Daniel Majewski. Describe his apartment block to me.
It is a typical Prague, one of those like squares, you know, like the apartments are all sort of built around with an interior courtyard on levels upon levels. And you know, I let myself in through the street door into the corridor. Someone's left it unlocked, as usually they do. And I climb up the winding staircases to the right, you know, the interior balcony. And it's very nice. There are flowers and things all the way around the inside. It's almost as though, you know, Prague isn't occupied when you're inside one of these buildings.
It's almost like a Prague Spring, and you knock on a door.
I knock on his door, yes, which is in one of the upper floors.
And this will be after working hours, so it's the evening, and you can hear conversation and perhaps the shouting of children, and then a young man opens the door. He's probably in his mid-20s. Probably he was probably Radim's first PhD student, and he initially kind of looks at you and then says, "David."
Daniel, hi. Hello.
Come in. Do come in.
Thank you. And I, as he walks in, he pulls out, you know, a bottle of schnapps, and he's. I wondered if you might have a moment and to share a glass with me. And,
yes, of course. Have you heard anything from Radim?
Radim is why I am here.
Well, come into my study. He's got a tiny little cubby hole of a study with a desk, a chair, and a second chair. And he invites you to sit and says to his Marta, "Don't worry, it's a friend of a friend. Put the children to bed." And comes back with 2 glasses and we'll share a drink with you. What news have you had? Somebody told me he'd been seen in Prague, but he's not come back to the office or anything.
Yes, I don't know what to make of it. Would you believe if I said that he's taken a post at the German university?
What? Radim?
Radim.
That's inconceivable.
Yes, a friend of mine had to pay a visit there the other day and walked past the door that had his name on the front.
I don't want to cause offence, David, but I'm shocked.
I can't believe it. We have been worried sick. I have looked for him every day, for his home lies abandoned. The neighbors haven't seen him. His office, none. How many times have I come to you and asked, where have you seen anything of Radim? And there was a professor there who my friend spoke to, and he said that Radim had dropped this, and David will pull out the index card.
Because this is the evening after Israel's visit to the library.
Yeah.
So let's just see what, because we know that Israel's going to go back and share that card with you. But I just want to check that Israel didn't want to do anything else in the library before he left.
Goes out as quietly as possible once he found out he has nothing to do here.
Okay. So fine. Sorry about that. Just need to check the timeline. So yes, and he looks at you and he says, "Where did you get this?"
It was my friend. My friend found it at Radim's new office.
I can trust you, David. So you may or may not know that when the Germans arrived in Prague, one of the first things they did was to turn up at the university, the Czech university, and just clear boxes of books from the restricted access collections.
Yes, Radim was furious. I had to talk him down from storming straight into the new university, the place where he works now.
In order to try to stop them, to make it less useful to them, some of us hid the library catalogue at a convent about 30 miles southwest of here. I heard last week that the convent had been raided by the SS and the nuns murdered. And no one has seen anything of these documents since. These index, and this is one of those index cards. Were there others?
You don't think Radim didn't? He would never have taken the Germans to there.
David, I don't know what to think now.
Neither do I. I thought he was a patriot.
This was how we were trying to keep safe the knowledge in those books, by just forcing the Germans to catalogue them all over again. If they have the card index, then they will have access to a number of books that I would not wish them to have access to, including actually this one.
What do you know about this book? What is it? I
never believed it. But Radim, was slightly eccentric when it came to stuff like this. And this book claimed to contain insights into the use of blood for, would you believe, magic?
I would not believe, but I know Radim would have. And I hear rumors that the Nazis are similarly minded.
Well, I don't know what to say to you, David. I don't know what to say. I just...
My friend asked at the university about the new professor, and he was told that he had traveled to Bruno, of all places.
I can't think why Radim would go to Bruno.
Neither can I. But this book and this is all I have to go on. And this is a terrible day for my family and
for his friends.
Yes.
If you can find him, David, and just talk to him, convince him that you know that where his heart should be.
And I will knock back my schnapps, pour another tall one for the both of us, and say, "You are a good man, Daniel. I hope you and your family are keeping well. To you."
We close on the chink of glasses. Now, I'm going to assume that the next logical place is Bruno, because I thought we'd build in a break before Bruno. Yeah. So can I suggest we take a look? It's 22 to the hour now. If we took a 10-minute break, just have a stretch and a bio break and top up drinks, and we were back in our seats at 10 to the hour.
Sounds perfect.
I'll see you then.
You know, the funny thing is I only went with David Zakpal because the Czech name generator came up with Zakpal again. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Is that the only name in the Czech? Because it's not much of a name generator if that's the case.
No, there are hundreds more, but in that first batch there was a Zakpal, and I was like, it's fate. It's got to be fate, right?
Who's Radim Zakpal? Is that a real person?
Say it again, Eris?
Who is Radim Zakpal? Is that like a real person?
No, it's simply that I ran a series of 4 of these a couple of weeks ago, and Will played Radim Zakpal. And I like to have some continuity between my games, I suppose, and so he seemed a logical one to do. And I did think about changing it when I saw Will had signed up, but I thought, well, you know.
I'm so glad you didn't. I'm loving it. This is exactly what I would love.
You know, just the other 2 of you, forgive us for this slightly self-indulgent reference.
Sounds awesome. I kept looking for him on Google. I was like, is that someone real? What the hell? You need to make a wiki for your games.
Perhaps so. So look, what I'm going to assume is that the next, because we're on a one-shot, the clock is ticking. I'm going to assume that the logical next step is to find you as soon as you get off the train in Brno, unless you tell me different. Yeah? Okay. I've added to the mission tab a map of Brno, just to give you a sense of what it's like, and a postcard from approximately this time showing that in the middle of Brno, there's a kind of kite-shaped square. And what you'll see in the postcard I've added to the mission tab is a picture looking north in that square. Because your resistance contact, what you've been told is that there's a distinctive circular kiosk in front of the central cinema, the central kino. And if you go to that tobacconist's in that kiosk and ask if Paul has left you tickets for the next show, your instruction is to go into the cinema. Those tickets will be valid for the next show. Watch the show through, and you will be contacted by the Brno Resistance. So unless you tell me different, that's what I'm assuming you're going to do. Okay. So you've got the tickets. They are 3 tickets together in the main body of the cinema. And you're halfway through, because this is the day when programs just rolled. You're halfway through a Berlin musical with all kinds of references. So would you like to tell me something about this musical that tells you it is made as Nazi propaganda?
That's easy one. There is like 1 billion swastikas everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, I see a Busby Berkeley style view from above, dancing swastikas. If we're not careful, we will be parodied into The Producers and Springtime Hitler in Germany. But let's try and stay away from that one. But yeah, so there's dancing swastikas. I love that. Thank you.
A lot of the dialogue and things is all about the Sudetenland and you know, the one country, the sort of the shared heritage of the Aryan folk.
The love story here is about the downtrodden Czech heroine who's of German descent marrying the Aryan blonde German hero. Yes, I go with that.
Yeah, and along those lines, there's definitely the downtrodden whose lives are suddenly better because now that the Germans are here. And so there is more food or whatever it is. Like, it was so hard to get bread on a daily basis, but now it's here in plenty.
You've never had it so good, I think, is the overarching message. Yeah, fine. Followed by newsreels of the successful invasion of Poland and probably some fraternal greetings at the border in the newly divided Poland between Nazi soldiers and Soviet soldiers, having carved the country up between them. And you know, it's a classic 1930s cinema, so it's vast. There are probably 1,000 people even during the day, and cigarette smoke is wafting up through the projector as it flickers these images on the screen ahead of you. Is there anything that you want to do in the cinema, or do you do as you're told and you sit and wait?
I think I sit and wait, like, at least for Natalie.
Is there anyone who doesn't want to sit and wait? And if so, what do you want to do? Okay, so the musical ends in a flurry of swastikas and happy dancing Czechs, so pleased to be part of Greater Germany suddenly. And they might even have spliced in at the end some happy Poles, and how welcome all of this is. And then the lights come up and people begin to leave. And as you're leaving, there's a cigarette girl with a little tray of cigarettes. And as you walk, she's at the end of your row. As you come out of your row, she says, "Oh, I believe these are for you, sir," she says. I think probably to David, because he's the oldest male present. And I think that's probably where she would give the cigarettes to. These are from Paul.
Thank you. Send him my regards.
You leave the cinema?
Yeah, I think we leave the cinema and we get a few feet down the street, and I stop to have a cigarette. I open up the packet.
And there's a piece of folded paper in there that says, "I will see you by the bank on the corner." And indeed, just down from the central keynote that you can see in that postcard, right on the right-hand corner, there is indeed a bank. And there is a young man standing, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, I nod the group over and I offer a cigarette around to my companions.
and of course, because it's where we are, everyone takes one. Young man, the young man introduced himself as Paul, and I've just added him. Whoops, to the mission tab. And Paul says, "I believe you're new to Brno. Can I just show you around?"
That would be most wonderful of you. Yes.
The curfew won't happen for another couple of hours. And as he walks around, I guess this is an opportunity for you to ask him any questions you might have. He's your contact. It's for you to tell me how you want to make use of him.
So I will ask about a Czech professor, Radim Zakpal, who has recently traveled here as part of the German university. Would you have any contacts that would know anything about this?
What he can tell you is that all the Germans or people associated with the occupation who come to Brno stay at the Hotel Klauber, which is actually in the block that you're standing, that you met him in front of. It's the far side of this block, the Hotel Clauber. So if he's here with the German university, the chances are that they'll have put him up there.
The Hotel Clauber. Interesting.
I think the thing I want to know is what kind of like shipments and stuff are coming in or through Bruno, because they're probably tracking the trains and cars and trucks and stuff of what's coming in. Like, are books from all over coming in? Is a lot of food or weapons coming in? Like that type of stuff. Like whatever Paul might know about the incoming stuff.
Certainly, Bruno is one of the centers for the rotation of troops out of Poland. So as troops are rotated out of Poland back into Czechoslovakia, and fresh troops go to Poland, there's an awful lot of troop coming and going through Bruno. And what they have noticed is that a lot of soldiers are reporting to the Hotel Clauber, where there is a blood donation scheme, where the Germans are building up a stock of blood, presumably for future offensives. So there are soldiers coming in and out of the hotel all day. And the resistance understands that there's a requirement for any unit being rotated back into the Bruno vicinity to send a proportion of their strength to this blood donation program.
Are they taking Czech blood or just German?
It appears to be, they appear to be collecting blood from the troops to reuse for casualties.
Okay.
Because ambulances leave the back of the hotel at regular intervals.
Do you know anyone who works at the hotel?
I think it's almost certain that one of the busboys or one of the waitresses in the cafe are at least connected to the resistance. It seems it would, if there wasn't, they'll have put somebody in there because it's the German center in Brno.
I will pass. I will reach into my coat pocket and unfurl a picture of Radim and hand it to him and say, "This man, if he is seen by your friends, they would let me know."
Certainly, he can pass that on. He's arranged a safe house, a kind of slightly sleazy apartment in the east of town for you to stay in. And he can certainly get within 24 hours that to their contacts in the hotel and hopefully feed something back to you. Is there anything else he can do for you before he leaves you in the hotel, in the safe house?
Maybe he can get us the book. No, I guess not.
Do you mention the book?
No.
I think David would do, perhaps, in the sense of like saying that there may be something more to this blood drive. It may be madness, but they are interested in a book. And I read out the title again, in translated.
If you look at the picture of Paul's a bank clerk. I think this is probably outside his expertise or any conception, frankly.
Yeah.
So
I will,
you wave this card under his nose, and it's a library card.
Yeah, no, I just say that title, and I'm like, they are madmen. We are at the whim of murderous madmen, and God knows what they will do for blood.
So David, what do you think this book does?
I don't think David doesn't believe in any of this stuff, but he knows that Radim believes, and he knows that the Germans seem to believe as well, and he's worried about what lengths they'll go to try out their theories.
Okay. So I'm going to cut to the safe house, and I just wanted to introduce you to the, just in case you were getting interested in this, it is possible in this game to reduce your stress. If you have a look at the other rules tab, you'll find the rules there for reducing stress. You can lose a point of stress if you want to by undertaking some activities that I've lifted some of, at least, from Cartel, or the principles behind it. I just wanted to put that in front of you in case you were tempted. But failing that, I think a scene in the safe house where you discuss what you do next.
I think it's clear that whether or not you believe it, whether or not I believe it, Radham believes it, and the Germans believe it, that whatever is in that book is true, or at least they're testing the hypothesis that it's true.
Yes, we must find Radham. I must speak with him. I'm sure there must be an explanation for all of this. It is. Maybe he is on a mission. Maybe he is wasting the Germans' time. Maybe he is draining the Germans of their blood to weaken them as they throw themselves against the Polish. I do not know. It sounds ridiculous even as I say it out loud.
And I just kind of like look at you and like tilt my head sideways, and I'm like, yes, maybe he really is working for the Czech people and draining them of blood, but I think we should be prepared that he is not.
And David just looks dour and lights another cigarette, pours some more schnapps from the bottle, and looks out the window.
You don't like Natalie much, do you, David?
I think it's more that I don't care for her. I'm not so much against her, but I don't care for her. Like I don't feel positive about her. She's just another body in the thing, and she's not done anything. So it's more a case of like, maybe as I look out the window and I smoke the cigarette, I go like, Radham was a patriot, unlike some people I can think of.
Do we want to take that tension somewhere?
Yeah, and I think like as you do that, like I take like a drink of whatever the alcohol that we're drinking is, because we're drinking something, and I sip it, and I'm like, I think that if you believe Radham was such a patriot and that now he's working for the Germans, what does that tell you about his faith in the country?
Israel, have a drink with us. Come, boy, sit down.
He sits like
Here.
commended.
Slams a glass down on the table. To Czechoslovakia. To a free nation. And we all drink.
No. I say, and I like put it down.
Does it even touch your lips?
I can smell it probably.
Okay, so what's the plan then?
Off the top of my head, it is staking out the hotel to see if we observe Radham. I'm waiting for the man on the inside to maybe give us the word about it. I feel like anything else is we don't have enough to go on. I don't feel like infiltrating the hotel ourselves seems like a dangerous idea.
Can I Google a monster that drinks blood or something like that?
Google a monster that drinks blood. Is that what you said?
No, a ghoul is like, that's the nickname. I said ghoul. A ghoul is like...
Yeah,
some sort of monster that eats flesh and blood, isn't it?
In character, David will go, I suppose so. It is, again, more of the nonsense that they talk about.
And your uncle is the one draining people from blood.
I suppose so.
He's cool.
Yes, he is Asset Ghoul. All signs point to him being the Germans' Asset Ghoul. But he is no monster. He is a man. He is a good man. He is
I think that kind of realization of that chain of logic is a little stressful, David.
Yep. Yeah.
I think I'd like to see you roll for stress, please.
That's another raise. That's a 5.
Okay. We're rolling along quite nicely. So increase by 1. And
is everyone okay with that plan? I mean, like the plan that I suggested of just staking out the hotel and waiting for the resistance to maybe do some of the work.
The only other thing I would say we should add is follow the ambulances or find out where they're going, because if they're just like driving around in circles and not going anywhere and then coming back, like they're there just as a distraction to make people think and that the blood is still there, or they might actually be carrying stuff to a specific place, which might actually be more important.
So might I suggest that maybe you two go do that while I keep an eye on because I'm focused, like Radim. I must see Radim, and if I can intercept him, then I can speak to him, and it'll all be cleared up.
And you'll certainly recognize him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, following morning, I'm going to assume that the resistance can source you a beaten up old truck, and you park around the corner, and by, I guess, about mid-morning, an ambulance pulls up at the back of the hotel, the side door of the hotel, and you see a nurse and a man in a white coat come out with a great kind of wheeled trolley, and the two guys in the ambulance lift what appear to be bottles of blood into the back of the ambulance. Close the ambulance, nurse and doctor disappear back inside, ambulance drives away, and you follow it. Yeah? Okay. I don't think you'll have any trouble following it. I think that what I need to do, though, is to have is Natalie driving?
Sure, I can be driving.
Okay. I think Natalie does need to just give me some sense of what chance is there that they think they're being followed? Yeah.
Okay.
So what's her kind of tailing technique like? So I think that's rolling to do something else.
Yeah. I think her tailing technique is like how busy, like how many cars are just on the street in general?
Not an enormous number. I think that in terms of civilian cars, rationing will have kicked in.
Right.
So it's quite busy relatively in this kind of central part of the city. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if this gets very far away, there'll be a lot of traffic.
Okay. I think it's going to be sort of like while it's busy and there's enough space or there's enough vehicles that like there can be at least a car or two in between us. I try to keep a car or two in between. But like once it's if we go someplace where it starts to thin out, it's going to be the like going like probably tailing a decent distance away, like maybe trying to be like out of audible range. So like they actually have to be paying attention to their mirrors or something to like notice us, but they'll notice us since there's nobody else, but like at least not just have it in the audible like range.
That's fine. So I think roll to do something else then. I'm not sure I see anything in your expertise that would fit.
No, but I'm totally gonna. Because we can reroll, take the stress afterwards. I'll just reroll the first one and see what happens. I got a 1, so I'll reroll stress. I'll take that to reroll them both. And I got a 5, and the highest one is the white die.
That is the best kind of outcome in those circumstances. So I think you discover a talent for this, Natalie. And when you get a little bit close to them, you correctly anticipate. If you turn left, then right, you will disappear and then reappear. And if you look on the map of Brno, you will see that there's quite a wooded hill to the west of the city, and they head that way, and they drive up one of the roads to the top of this hill, and then pull off into a track. Do you follow them?
No, I think like as they pull off into the track, I think we drive towards like the top of the hill, but like we make note that like this is the track that they pulled off of. And then because like looking at that map, there's not much there other than the thing that's at the top of the hill, right? So what is at the top of the hill?
It's an old palace. It as you don't know much about it.
Okay. So I think like what we'll do is pull up past the track, and then I think if there's another like pull out, maybe like turn around and just like sort of like wait to see if they were like trying to lose us, and then are going to come back up the main track or whatnot. And if not, then maybe like come to follow back afterwards.
Given you rolled a 5, I think I will tell you that you don't think they saw you coming at all. You're as confident as you can be that they don't think they're being followed. Okay? What do you want to do?
I think I turned to Ezrael and I'm like, well, they were taking the blood down that track. We could go now and try to see what's there. We could wait here, see if they come back out. When they come back out, my guess is they came and they'll drop it off and they'll leave in the ambulance.
I look confused when you say that. Sure. Why are you asking?
Well, if we wait and they take off, it'll give us the opportunity. We'll have several hours before the ambulance comes again. We can go down that path and see what's there.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm like, and it's sort of be like looking at you and I'm like, this is going to be something more than getting into a professor's study.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, I'm going to do whatever we need to do.
All right. Good.
Complete confidence then, Natalie.
Yeah. Oh, at least projecting complete confidence to Ezrael.
You given where they turned off and then further up the hill where you turned off, you think if you headed just down through the trees, you'd intersect the track they went up. And so what I'm seeing is you making your way through this woods as much as you can, and you find the track, and then you make your way along the track. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I just need to know whether they hear you coming. So I'm thinking of doing something else, but I think survival is a valid expertise here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you can roll with expertise.
Cool. I think I'm going to re-roll with stress because a 2 is not what I want when infiltrating a building that is potentially a lot of trouble. And with the re-roll, I get a 6, and it's higher. It's not the stress die.
Oh, Natalie is hot. You catch him cold, and what you see are the 2 guys in white sat. The back of the ambulance is open, and they're sat in the back of the ambulance just smoking.
And the blood has been taken off, or is it like still sitting there?
It appears to be almost just a turning circle in the woods.
And I think I just turned to Azrael. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. They come here to smoke, and it seems like there's nothing else around.
Is there anything inside the car still?
I think given that you rolled really well and it wasn't stress, I think. Did you roll a 6? Right, on a 6, you tell me what you see or realize that's beyond human knowledge or a reminder of the horror of war. What do you see inside that truck that allows you to create a bit of fiction here? That worries you find disturbing?
I am open for suggestions if other people have ideas.
Maybe they're drinking the blood, or at least it looks like it.
I love that idea.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Because what they do is they do indeed appear to be supping out of these bottles. But what's weird? So let's have Natalie roll for. Let's have both of you, because you've both realized that. Let's have you both roll for stress.
And so when we roll for stress,
you just roll the stress dice, and if it's higher than your current stress, higher than or equal to your current stress, it goes up by 1.
Well, mine goes up by 1.
There you go. Israel? 2 or more, and it goes up. So both of you had stress. And it's that kind of shock. They're drinking the blood. They're drinking the fucking blood.
Drinking the blood.
But then when they take their mouth away, there's no red. And then what you see them do is they just empty it out. And it appears that the bottle is just painted red on the inside. They put it back inside inside the ambulance, lock the back, turn around and drive away.
It's not the blood.
It's not. It's just a scam. All the blood must still be in the building.
Oh God, I was thinking they were drinking it.
So was I. Well, at least we know. And then I like look at you and I'm like, we should get back to David.
Oh, yes.
Which is the perfect cut, of course, to David sat at a table at a cafe outside the main doors to the Hotel Clover, which is round the corner from that postcard view. And David, you're just sitting there, and what you observe through the morning with your pastry and several cups of coffee is a relatively consistent stream. Truck pulls up, 10 or 12 German soldiers get out, they go inside, they're there for maybe 30, 40 minutes. The truck has driven away, they come out, and they go off around the town. And this happens routinely at a regular rhythm. But you don't see, by the time that Ezrael and Natalie get back, you don't see any sign of Radim.
He hasn't come out of the hotel, if he is there at all. What did you find?
Neither did the blood.
The blood is all still inside?
Yes.
They have a pretty clever ruse going on, a little bit elaborate, just in case they were being followed. But the bottles carrying the blood out, painted glass.
Well, and Alan, while watching it, would I have noticed that the German soldiers just seem to disperse into wherever they're billeted, right? Like, they don't seem to all be heading in one direction.
The sense you get is that they're being brought in from where they're being billeted, probably outside the town. And then they go in, presumably to give blood. They come out and then they go off on a furlough, on leave for maybe 24 hours.
Right.
They seem to go off. Some they go to the cinema. You might follow one around the corner and you see him going into a bar with another guy. Two of them came and sat at a table on the other side of the cafe from you.
My suggestion is we take one of these fine German fellows for a night out on the town in Brno.
Agreed.
Reasonable.
And I think the other thing that happens then is that Contact Paul arrives at the cafe, sits at a table next to you, drinks a cup of coffee, leaves the money he needs to pay and the bill on the table and walks away. What do you do?
I think I stand up to go to the counter, and I pick up Paul's bill and money, and I check it for any kind of notes or anything that he might have left as I walk over.
It says 4th floor, room 28, a suite 28.
All right. And I pocket that as I hand the rest, hand over the bill and the thing to the counter and come back with more drinks to the table. Vadim is inside, floor 428.
So, should we go in or should we go for soldier?
If we need to know what the inside of the hotel is like. We need to know how we might get in. Maybe more dangerous, but if we take one of the soldiers, he is on furlough. He will not be missed for several days. They are drinking and whoring, and it is not likely that they will be missed for at least 48 hours. We may give us a opportunity, or we may try simply to go in. We can try and use Paul's friend inside, but I leave the decision to you. I am too close to this.
A disguise would come a long way.
Hotel uniforms, perhaps.
Hotel uniforms or soldier uniforms? Did they ever go back inside the building?
I look over at Natalie and I think, I don't believe there is a soldier's uniform in our friend's size.
I'm conscious we've got slightly more than 30 minutes to play. I think trying to lay hold of German uniforms is going to be rather involved. Hotel uniforms, on the other hand.
Cool. Then we will put that request in with Paul. I will, after we quickly discuss this, and then I will pick up like an umbrella or something that I brought with me and dash out of the bar and try and catch him in the square and go, "Excuse me, sir, I think you dropped this."
I don't have any problem with their contacts in the hotel getting you into the hotel as waiters, maid, buzzboys, take your pick. And so unless you've got something else you want to do, bear in mind you are still light loaded, so you've got 3 equipment slots when the time comes to play with. What I would suggest is that we then cut to the following morning. Do you want this during the day, evening, night? What's your preference?
Night.
I think we'll try and slip in with like the overnight shift when it's quiet.
Yeah, fine. So night porter, chambermaid on duty, and perhaps a buzzboy. Yeah. And so what I imagine then is we're in the lobby, and the lobby there's gold leaf plaster, trompe l'oeil, giving the impression of a great dome above, open to the sky, cherubs. You look up at the cherubs. There are smiling SS guards on the doors into the ballroom, with a large sign in German that says blood donation, arrow. And I think we might see Natalie bustling about with a pile of fresh towels, perhaps, or something. We see David, who looks far more like a night porter than a busboy, I think. Is maybe has found a suitcase from somewhere that he needs to move about. I don't know. And the busboy, Israel, I see him in a lovely little kind of round hat. This, gorgeous red uniform, very nice. So what do you want to do from that opening to the scene?
David wants to make his way straight up to Radim's room.
Likewise.
Now, yeah, I don't know what the two of you want to do in terms. You want to come up to Radim's room, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where we're all in the corridor, and whether or not it's like you're the one who's knocking, but like I'm 3 doors down, like with towels or things.
Yeah. Maybe you've got a cart, right, full of like things.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and the busboy has just stepped out of the lift.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there you are, David. You're at the door. Suite 28 on the 4th floor. There's a pause, quite a long pause. And then the door opens. And there is Radim. And he looks at you and says, David?
Hello, sir. And I hold up the suitcase and I say, may I think I have something that belongs to you. May I come in?
Why are you dressed like that?
Because this is my job, sir. Maybe I could speak to you inside your room.
Yes, David, come in, of course.
Are you going in alone?
What are the other two of you doing?
I will, as we go through the door, I will gather myself and I will just say, 1 second, sir. I see you need new sheets. And I will beckon the maid down.
Yeah, and I will come. And then like it's definitely like the propping the door open like just slightly so I can like take the towels in and things like that as I bring the stuff over.
Yeah, so the little trolley with all the stuff is outside, and you're fine. What about Israel, the busboy?
I think it just stands there next to the door. Looks very suspicious.
Okay. I think that's called being on duty.
Yes. Right outside an open door with a maid in it.
Well, just ajar. It's just ajar. Okay, and Radim is there. He's in a dressing gown. And he's been eating a meal, he said, I'm very confused, David. What are you doing here?
What are you doing here, Radim? Where have you been? It has been months. I've been so worried.
I'm doing very important work, David. Very important work. This is work that the Czech people will thank me for generations to come.
The Czech people, you are working for the Germans, Radim. How could it? How could you do this?
No, David, you're misunderstanding. They are working for me.
The last I checked, Radim Zakpal was not the administrator of the Czechoslovakian state.
But frankly, David, if this goes well, it's only a matter of time.
Radim, what happened? I spoke to Daniel. He said some troubling things. The nuns. I know about the convent, Radim. What happened at the convent?
I think probably I'm looking for both Natalie and David to investigate at this point. I want to get some sense of what you are sensing, feeling, noticing. Yeah. So sure. Who's going first?
I can go. Like I think I'm like refreshing, like definitely like bringing in towels and sheets and like straighten things up. But like as like straightening things up, it's totally the opportunity to like put things away, like taking this thing that's on the bed and like opening like the drawer and putting it away type thing, and like seeing what's there.
That's fine. I'm struggling to see Natalie's expertise in this, unless she wants to go with the white dice and the stress dice, or try one and move on.
We'll try the white die first and see what happens. I got a 4. I'm okay with living with a 4.
So with a 4, you can ask me one question. So he is clearly, he appears to have some view of himself that is very deeply seated. Yeah, that's the basic information. Do you have a specific question you want to ask me, Natalie?
I'm looking for anything that he's like particularly fervently taking notes on, or things like that. Like, because if he is really devoted to one thing, there's probably going to be a bunch of scribbles or some focus of something that he's doing.
I think as you bustle around, I think that he is making some. There is a folder with some notes, and the folder has a kind of logo on the front of a torch. But at your first glance at it, it could be a torch with the flames representing a slightly altered SS symbol. I'll leave you with that for a moment. David.
I rolled a 4.
So again, this is not the Radim you know. You know, what have the Nazis done with Uncle Radim? Because this is not the Radim you know. That's the basic information. Do you have a specific question you want to ask me?
I think in David's case, the specific question is to ask Radim, what are they doing with the blood? And in asking Radim, and my question for you is, when he tells me it, is that going to be truthful? Will he believe what he's telling me?
Okay.
Radim, what is all this blood?
It's some sort of German medical thing. I don't know. I don't know. He's absolutely lying to you.
You said you were in charge here.
Yeah, but not of the military. Look, let me order dinner for us. And he goes towards the telephone.
We already ate, Radim.
Oh yes, but you really must. You really must. The food here is tremendous. And he picks up the telephone. And
I snatch the telephone out of his hand.
Okay, I think let's do something else.
Yep. Do I have expertise? No, I won't. I'm the plucky mechanic. I don't have expertise in that. That's a 6.
Oh, isn't that nice? You pluck it away, and it's sitting next to the plate of food he's eating. And rather than ask you, I will tell you that looks like raw meat.
Radim, what are you eating?
What do you mean? I've always liked my steak rare. I think I need you to roll for stress, David.
Yes, of course. You're going to send another character insane, aren't you? Yeah, that's a 6. I have failed every single one of these stress rolls.
So increase your stress by 1. Because all this discussion of ghoul and, Jeff, come on. Natalie, you've seen this happen. Ezrael, you hear this slightly raised voice conversation inside. Do you stay outside or go inside?
Go inside, close the door.
Fine.
And lock it.
Good plan. Natalie, what are you going to do?
I think that the conversation has sufficiently pulled Radim's attention away from me. And I think that's the opportunity where it's sort of the like unfolding the towel to reveal that there's like a revolver in there, that like I'm just taking it up and just like pointing it like at the back of his head. And like far enough away that like if he just turns around, like he can't just like grab it, but like it's the like I'm at essentially point blank, and like As he turned around, I'm like, Redeem, we're not here to fuck around anymore. You are obviously not on the up and up, and you may be David's uncle, but you're not mine.
I think that's pretty potent intimidation in the face of a gun.
Yeah.
Would naturally like to see how effective that intimidation is.
Definitely.
By rolling to do something else with expertise.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got a 6.
Great. Well, on a 6, you get he is absolutely, and his hands go up and he backs away from you, into the bathroom door, which just swings open. And from where you're standing, Natalie, you can see the body of the young woman hanging over the bath, with apparently some pieces of her thigh carved away. That's quite a disturbing sight, Natalie.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take some stress, or potential. Yep, I took some stress.
And David, you're standing with your kind of to one side, and you see this happen, and you see the look on Natalie's face. What do you do?
Like, you know, in the cinematic world, it's like everything's going silent around David, and it's like, you know, the tension is rising and the music's going dum 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 dum, and he's leaning and he looks into the bathroom, and he sees there, and I imagine he makes a stress roll for that.
I think he does. And Ezrael, you see this interaction, and suddenly the tension in the room has gone. What do you do?
I see them walking around basically, and him just going like that. I don't know actually. I just stand there and waiting for orders basically. Like I wait something.
I think you might not have failed that stress roll.
I didn't fail that stress roll. So what happens is David says, "Nah," and then turns around and reaches for Adim's throat and starts like holds back a yell, you know, like, "What have you done, Adim?"
It's for the good of the people. They will be grateful. They will be grateful.
Tell me what is going on, Adim. Don't make me kill you.
Come with me. Come with me. I'll show you. I'll show you. You'll understand if you could just see it. You'll really understand if you could just see it.
Tell me. Don't show me. Tell me.
This could be a way to end war.
And I look back at the body and pale, and I go like, with what? Is that what you are eating?
I think that's another stress roll, because I think that you've put 2 and 2 together, David. That raw meat.
That's a failure again.
Woman.
That's a failure again.
For the first time. When he said that's what you're eating, I look in the bath and I also say that.
I think that Ezrael, you need to make a stress roll as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make one too, as like happens. And then depending on the immediate thing that gets said, I'm going to say something also.
And I failed.
So Ezrael's stress goes up. Natalie. Oh, she's tough. She's tough. What are we going to do? He's saying, I can show you. I can show you, David. You just need to see it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Did you kill her?
Who? Who do you? What do you mean kill? Oh, I see. No, of course not. I'm not a monster.
And I just look at David and I'm like, Redeem, I don't know. I don't know if this is the Redeem you know, but this Redeem before me is not somebody who should leave this room alive.
David looks at Radim and says, his tone changes and he goes, Radim, I will come see what you want me to see. But tell me, this is a Torch, yes? The Germans' Torch program, is that right?
Prometheus. Oh, yes, Prometheus. Yes.
Yes, yes. Is this the only site in Bruno? Is here at the base of the Torch? Is this where the great works?
Yes, yes. This is where the work's being done. Absolutely. Yes, yes.
And is there anywhere else?
No, I can't imagine where else this could be done. There is just one place. It is the lines of fate have crossed here, David, in a way that is enlightening.
And that is here in this very building, you say?
Yes, yes. Come with me now. I will take you. I will take you there.
Oh, one more second. And your colleagues at the university in Prague, the German university. Are any of them in?
They're fools. They're fools. They know nothing. They know nothing.
So you are the only person involved. You are the visionary of this entire.
I'm a modest man.
You are a great man, Radim, a great man. We have always known this.
But I believe that I have brought to this the single ingredient that will make all the difference.
And what is that?
Well, you'll understand that blood coagulates.
Yes.
I found a way to keep it flowing. And now the work is proceeding at an exponential rate.
And where in the hotel is this? Is this in the basement or the grand room?
Yes,
in the basement, right.
That's how you get there, yes.
Yes. Radim, I will miss you. And I will whip out my commando knife and bury it to the hilt in Radim's chest.
I don't think there's any question that he goes down like a sack of potatoes with no more and just bleeds out.
I do think that I'm loath to do it because I'm at 5 stress, right? But I feel like it would behoove me to make a stress roll for killing my family member.
I think killing your favorite uncle is kind of an issue.
Yeah, but then again, I am also destroying an artifact of the mythos.
if only you had that degree of insight. At 6,
yes.
You might see it that way.
Yeah.
So I think.
Oh, well, guess what I rolled, Alan? Guess what I rolled? Right.
How does this manifest, David?
I think what this manifests at is a suicidal kamikaze urge to wipe Radim's work from the face of the earth. And luckily, he brought along satchel charges in the suitcase. So
because that's all 3 spaces. So I'm guessing you're not sharing that with the other 2.
I think what I'm sharing with the other 2 is that it is time. You must report back. Take anything from the room. I will take care of things here.
How do you 2 respond to that?
I stand and look at Natalie, like to see what she says.
And I look at you, Israel, and I look back at David, and then I gather all the papers that I've seen and collected, and I hand them to you. And I'm like, go. Get out. Get to Paul. Get back to Prague. Make sure that all the information that is here gets reported.
About you?
I'm going to help David and make sure that this doesn't happen.
You have a family. And I asked you, you must take care of mine. This is not... I know what they forced, why you are here, and I will not ask this of you.
And so I look at you and I'm like, okay, And then I take out, like from the cart type thing, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to help you, but if it does, and then like I throw, I probably hand you the revolver that I was wielding, and probably like I think I had like grenades and bolt cutters. It's just the like I'm giving you all this stuff. Like we're gonna go do what you need to do and get out. I'm like, I expect you. I hope to see you in Prague again. For if no other reason, you're going to help me keep my family safe.
Yes. And I would like to suggest that he will take off his blood-spattered porter's uniform, and he will go into Radim's wardrobe, and he will take out some of Radim's clothes, and he will take some papers and stuff that Radim, leftover things that are probably inconsequential, right? But like look important. And one of his little briefcases, and make himself look very presentable, and stash all of those things upon his person. So he'd be kind of up to medium load now. But what he's going to do is he's going to try and get down into the basement and bluff that he is Professor Zakpal's, assistant from the German university. He's in fact going to go down there, and he speaks fluent German as well. And yeah, the mission. You're muted, Alan.
Of course I am. I'm getting excited. So I think what I'm seeing is Natalie and Israel leaving through the back of the hotel with a suitcase full of all the papers, yeah, and heading to the safe house. And I think that probably as they turn around the corner, they hear the muted sound of gunfire. And of course, in the movie, we then cut to the lift arriving in the basement, and we see David pulling open those kind of concertina doors. And I've added a picture to the mission tab of what he sees. The only difference is that in reality, blood is streaming down the walls over the stacked human bones from an ancient ossuary. And then we see German guards beginning to fire at him. And then, as you disappear around a corner, and the road beside the hotel goes up like that. And I think that's probably game. I would quite like just to have we know what David's epilogue is. We've just seen it. But Natalie and Israel, when you get back to Prague, I'd quite like to have some sense of you after this mission.
Next mission.
He
immediately goes and gets the next mission.
Oh.
But that's all he's doing right now. And he won't be able to.
I'm very impressed. So Israel is now a committed member of the resistance and is looking for the next job. Fine. Natalie, what do we see?
Nope. I'm like, there's definitely like a small scene of like talking to somebody else who's in the resistance of like, you have put me in dangerous situations. I've done them. One of the other compatriots did not come back. Surely this is enough that my family can be safe now, and that you don't need my assistance anymore.
I think that probably the resistance leader, who's probably got a light behind him and he's got a hat down, and he's saying, of course, Natalie, everything will be fine now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to stop the broadcast. So if you want to say bye-bye to the internet, say bye-bye to the internet now. Bye.